Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Haunt Collection Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris Codina, and this week I was like, well, what am I going to read this week? Do I go on the Creepypasta Wiki? Do I go on No Sleep? What do we do? And I was like, you know what I haven't read yet on this show, somehow? And I haven't read any SCP Foundation stuff, so we're going to do that. If you're not familiar, the SCP Foundation is a fictional, secret, covert government agency that basically is charged with, it's in the name, SCP, Secure, Contain, Protect. They're charged with finding, studying, containing supernatural objects, creatures, ranging from harmless to, world-endingly dangerous. And basically, it's a wiki-type website. The address is scp-wiki.net. Where people submit these stories that are kind of basically files, like case files of these SCPs, as they're called. There's, I think like the one that just about everybody knows is oh dear, what is it called? SCP-173. If you've heard of SCPs, odds are that's the one you've heard of. It's the kind of big, sort of wooden doll-looking thing with like the bulbous head and no hands. It's just kind of like in a corner and sort of turning, and it's got like the weird, like creepy, like painted on face. And it kind of functions like Weeping Angel from Doctor Who, where if you're looking at it, it can't move, but the minute any eye contact is broken, and that includes blinking, it can move very quickly, and if it catches up to you, it will kill you, break your neck, and all that. And that's kind of the gimmick of a lot of these entries, is it's based off an image of some sort. At least a lot of the most popular ones, I would say. I don't know what the ratio is now, because there's like thousands and thousands of, I think, I don't know how many, but there's, here we are right here. There's like almost 4,000, it looks like, entries on this website. So obviously things are going to change to keep things fresh. But, it's pretty fun. There's definitely hit or miss ones, but, some of the hit ones are really good. It's fun because of the format of the stories. They're all kind of in this, like, clinical, an official governmental form type thing, where it just kind of gives you this information, and, certain parts of it are, famously redacted or data expunged. Sometimes, that's often a device to kind of increase the fun of it, although sometimes it's not used properly, and it can be frustrating or seem unnecessary. But so I think that's about the gist. I of course, as always, will provide a link to the story in the description below, and so you can read along with it and all that and check it out for yourself. I was trying to figure out which one to read. I wanted to go with one that I hadn't heard before, because I've heard a few of them, just like reading them myself or going and listening to like other podcasts and all that. And I decided to go with one that I'm pretty certain I haven't heard. It doesn't sound familiar. This is SCP-895. So here we go, and it's pretty cool. There is a sort of image attached to this. It's actually a video. It's more like it's fun. It's supposed to be a camera in the containment area for SCP-895, and it's supposed to be a live feed, and it even has like the today's date and current time on along the bottom, so it looks like it's a real time thing. And it's oops, I didn't turn the sound down on something. Sorry. There's it's a camera basically showing two corridors, and it's like in the corner of a room, like a square room, and then there's two round corridors. If you click on the link that I provide, you can see them for yourself. And down the right corridor, there's like a red door with like a red flashing light, and then the other one is just, I'll say a blue corridor, but I think it's just kind of like regular lighting. And occasionally, it looks like the light blinks out in the video and comes back on. But yeah, let's get into SCP-895. Item number SCP-895. Object class Euclid. And again, for those who don't know, when we talk about object classes with SCPs, there's different rankings. It's kind of like they're, like it says, it's object class. I believe there's like safe, and then Euclid is like kind of potentially like unpredictable, potentially dangerous, like not quite sure. It's kind of the yellow light, the warning kind of, whereas Keter being like definitely dangerous, like really unpredictable, kind of, bad stuff basically. Keter are usually the big ones. And then I think there's another one that it's on here somewhere, but I don't remember what it is. It's like Thaumiel or something like that. And I believe that's for indicating SCPs that serve the function of helping to contain other SCPs, something like that. So anyways, let's continue. Special containment procedures. SCP-895 is sealed, closed, and stored in an isolated underground containment cell at a depth of approximately 100 meters. No cameras, microphones, or other surveillance equipment may be brought within the 10-meter red zone radius of SCP-895 without express permission from at least 2 Level 3 personnel. Any on-site personnel exhibiting unusual behavior or signs of psychological trauma are to be screened immediately and removed from the site or terminated as the situation warrants. So that's it's kind of fun how these are structured, because before you even know what it is, it mentions the procedures for keeping, like the safety procedures, right? And so it's like, okay, we have no idea what this thing is, but we know that it is kept in a cell 100 meters underground. You can't bring cameras, microphones, any kind of surveillance equipment within 10 meters of its red zone, its radius, unless you have permission from Level 3 personnel. How many levels it goes up to, I'm not sure. And then if anyone is down there and they start acting weird, they need to be either taken out of there or just flat out taken out. Which is like, that's another thing about the SCP posts. A lot of them kind of have this like dark humor or dry humor to it, where it's just like, that's just kind of ridiculous, right? Like, the whole, oh yeah, like, if it needs to happen, just take somebody out, like it just says it so flat, kind of, you see that a lot of people are just like expendable. Like, I have no idea how many people work for the Foundation, because it seems like now, like, at least every entry, a few of them die or something. It's pretty funny, but, and strange. But, okay, like, nothing too much right now. So let's continue with the description. SCP-895 is an ornate oak coffin recovered from the redacted mortuary by SCP personnel on redacted date. Following reports of unusual footage captured by surveillance equipment installed at that location. When questioned, mortuary staff were unable to determine the source of SCP-895 and how it was transported to the location. Upon attempting to open SCP-895, agents on location found the object empty. However, observers viewing the live camera feed were data expunged. Until further notice, SCP-895 must remain closed at all time. Yeah, I remember when I was data expunged once. It was not a pleasant experience. But okay. So our object is an oak coffin. And it was in a mortuary, which is interesting. It sounds like, okay, it's just a coffin, and like when it's open, it looks like it's empty, but people that were looking at the security camera, because that was the issue, the surveillance equipment was detecting something we don't know. It was detecting something, and so it's like, okay, things need to, this thing needs to remain closed, because whoever was looking at the camera when the coffin was opened, something happened, data expunged, and it was ordered that the coffin remain closed. That's fun. I think I like that. Let me continue the description. There's another paragraph here. SCP-895 causes disruptions in video and photographic surveillance equipment within 50 meters, similar to vivid, disturbing hallucinations with variable duration and regularity, corresponding to the camera's proximity to SCP-895. Within a range of 5 meters from SCP-895, footage captured can cause severe psychological trauma and hysteria in most subjects. These disruptions do not extend to observers physically present within the area. Okay, so now we're getting the idea. So for whatever reason, SCP-895's effects seem to only go through surveillance equipment. It's not, detectable or, experienced through people physically near it. It's through people observing surveillance equipment near it. And that brings me to the little, the video. It's more of an extended GIF, I suppose, embedded in the article, where it has the real date and time, but it's been on a loop. I've noticed it, as I was kind of like, I had the page open and I was setting up Audacity and all that, and as I've been reading, basically now and then the lights blink off in the video and they'll come back on, and often it's normal. But now and then I've seen they've done a few things. There's been blood spatter on the walls, "Get Out" written in blood on the walls, a pile of bodies. There's a folding chair in the corner of the screen, and there was what looked to be a decapitated head. Like right now I just did it, and there's real quick, it blinks and there's a decapitated head on the chair, and then it blinks back and everything's normal. It showed like a big gaping hole in the floor, like a portal to hell looking thing. So yeah, somebody put this together just to kind of help with the story that you see, like, oh, hey, here's these crazy hallucinations that occur when you're viewing, when these cameras are in proximity to SCP-895, which is kind of fun. Like, I mean, it's a fun little immersion thing. I enjoy it. I appreciate the effort that was put into it. It doesn't look all that convincing, but I'm not going to take off points for it because they put in the effort to make, it's a little something fun. And so far, I enjoy the thing I like the most, because like the fact that it's the coffin is like a detail I enjoy wherever it is. Just kind of like this coffin that causes weird hallucinations through surveillance equipment. Like, I'm not as into, like, seeing... Like, that's one thing I wish it wasn't, like, just kind of, like, gore type stuff for the most part. Because it's just kind of, you know, whatever, but hey. But yeah, I like this idea of it showing, you know, increasingly, the closer the equipment is, increasingly disturbing images. Obviously, it's the worst if you actually view it when the coffin is open, which so far is my favorite detail of the entry. And we know that, at least potentially, people in the area, you know, they may need to be killed depending on what happens, what kind of trauma, what kind of hysterical break they have. Yeah, it's I like it. I like it so far. It's not, you know, maybe it's not too spooky aside from the coffin opening thing, but I think it's clever. I like it. Like I said, it's maybe this isn't the greatest one I've ever read yet, but we'll see. I like this so far. You know, overall, I like it. It continues with an addendum, and it seems to be a log. So I'll read it with, you know, kind of like this person speaking, then this person speaking, you know, whatever. So, addendum 89501. Audio excerpt from the SCP-895 recovery log. Date redacted. Command. Team 1, command. All civilians have been detained and evacuated. You are cleared to move in and capture. T1 lead. Command, 1 lead. Roger, we are moving in. T1 lead. We are inside the lobby. Video feed check. Command. Team 1, command. We are receiving... There's a pause. We are seeing blood on the walls. Please confirm. T1 lead. Negative, command. It's clean in here. Nothing out of the ordinary. Command. It's gone. Team 1, advise possible mimetic properties in effect. T1 lead. Copy, command. Team 1 moving into storage area. T1 lead. We are in the storage area. Object located. Command. Christ, it's moving. Team 1, confirm. Object appears to be alive and moving. T1 lead. Command. Negative. We see no movement. Object appears to be normal. T1 lead. 2. Open it up. Sounds of weapons being readied, followed by creaking as object is opened. T1-2. Sir, it's empty. T1 lead. Command, 1 lead. The object appears to be empty. T1 lead. Command, do you copy? Command. Sounds of screaming and retching. T1 lead. Command, do you copy? T1 lead. Shit, we're bugging out. Close that thing. Addendum 89502. Following incident, data expunged and the loss of 3 personnel. The red zone of SCP-895 has been extended from 5 meters to 10 meters, and security personnel shifts have been reduced to 4 hours as a precaution. Okay. So yeah, like, I like the little audio thing there. You know, it just kind of gives us our glimpse of what happened when they first went to capture SCP-895. You know, it doesn't. It pretty much tells us what we already knew, like that the people who were watching through the camera saw some terrible stuff and bad stuff happened. And it seems like, you know, some personnel was lost and all that. And, you know, it doesn't give us much more. Maybe it could have given us a little more. It did give us a glimpse of, like, what they were seeing. It mentioned, like, the blood on the walls. It mentioned that it thought the coffin was moving and all that. But I am glad that it didn't go too far with it and give us a little too much. Because, you know, we bring it up a lot, or I bring it up a lot, I guess. I'm just one person. You know, less is more. And, you know, yes, you could have you could have two less, because you need something there, to be anything. If that makes sense. I don't know, whatever. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Basically, yes, less is more, but you need to have something, right? And I think there's something here. It isn't, like I said, I like it. It might not be, the greatest SCP out there. Maybe not even the best one like I've heard or read or anything like that. But, like I said, I like some of the ideas. I like the, like I said, I like the kind of the spook the most, that it's the worst when it's open. And, it seems kind of obvious, but I like how it's described, the whole data expunge thing, and then until further notice, has to remain closed. I like that. There's, like I said, I like the touch on the site, using that with the camera and all that. It's fun. It's clever. It's just kind of some effort to, to add a little bit more to your, to the story. Oh, by the way, this was posted on September 8th, 2010, and it was written by Alana. And it looks like it was last edited just this most recent November, so maybe that was when the second addendum was added, I don't know. But, yeah, it's interesting. I like it. It's just like it's a good glimpse of what is good about the SCP thing. When you kind of have, how people play with this format and what makes it successful. Like I said, it isn't always successful, and it isn't always super effective. But like I said, I think it's effective here. But it shows how, like I said before, giving the containment procedures before the description of what the item actually is pretty fun. Because it gives this whole thing, like, this is how you gotta contain it, this is what you gotta do, and this is kind of like, it gives you this obvious, thing, obvious, description to show that, this thing is a threat of some kind, like, always gotta put all these levels of security and all that, all these permissions and stuff, but, we don't know what it is yet, and then we get the description, and it kind of, like, starts filling in blanks of, like, okay, this is why it's gotta be, like I said, 100 meters underground, and you can't have, security equipment too close to it, or else it's a danger to anyone looking at it, and then, that it's a coffin that's causing all this. And it just, like, the format works, in general. It's, the idea behind it is successful. And to be, kind of, like, cold and clinical in tone, just kind of, like you're, a scientist just writing a report and typing in, the info, in the file. That's also effective. Because for one, the, often, maybe not as much in this one, but in other ones, the, coldness of tone can kind of add to the spook factor of it, because, like I said, it's so cold, and you can be talking about these awful things, and these awful entities and all that. But also it adds a little bit to the humor aspect of SCP, when you're just kind of talking about, like, how comically expendable a lot of the people who work at the Foundation are, and stuff like that, or when you have a more comical SCP, which definitely exists. It's, like I said, it's a successful format. I'll have to do more. I'm looking forward to doing more. Maybe ones that I'll like a lot more, but like I said, I like this one. I thought this one was fun. I'm glad I picked it, because I never read this one, so I'm glad I did. I think that's the most there is to say about it. I feel like I kind of covered everything. Again, I did the same thing last week, right? Like, did I say enough? But, like, I don't know, this was short, and I kind of talked about everything, right? I think so. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap it there. Like I said, relevant links are in the description and all that, for the story, for social media, all that good stuff. Thanks for listening again. Always thank you for listening. and I will catch you next time. Later.